You know, I think it's finally time that we move on to my favorite game of the weekend. As many of you know, or as you know, you probably don't know this. Whoa, my light. Whoa, you see that? That was weird. What the heck?
Your room's haunted, man.
Dude, it's still going. What the heck? Okay, that was so strange. All right, well, I hope I'm not being haunted. That was so weird. That honestly tripped me out. Okay. For those of you that do not know, I'm a Denver Bronco fan, but I'm also a very, very big fan of Baker Mayfield. Maybe it's because we're both short. Maybe it's because we both kind of have the same attitude about things, but my boy Baker Mayfield, 21 for 34, 263 yards, 3 touchdowns in an absolute rout. Browns over Steelers, 48 to 37. I know the score seemed close, but trust me, if you watch this football game, it was not close. 28 to 0 at the end of the first quarter. And after that, I think the Browns kind of just ended up playing pretty even defense the rest of the time, right? This was an
Yeah, pretty much.
absolute rout. They have two. Wow. I'll let you talk because I'm just too happy about this.
I will say I wasn't surprised that Cleveland won, especially since they won 24-22 in their last game against the Steelers, which was, I believe, just week 16 or 17.
Week 17, Big Ben
But
Roethlisberger did not play. So,
yeah, but for them to do what they did against Ben Roethlisberger, who did play in the playoff game, without having their head coach on the sideline because of COVID protocols.
as well as one of the best guards in the NFL. So,
Right.
I know
Yeah,
it's a guard and it
they had a
does not
practice
impact the
squad
game too
guard.
much, but yeah.
Yeah, I actually watched him. I actually saw the video of him doing his practice reps in the parking lot because he found out last second. Um, I mean, for Cleveland to do what they did in that situation that week against the Pittsburgh team that had everything they brought, and again, the Steelers, they are an overhyped team this year. They're the one team that we all know that, despite their 12-win record in the regular season, that they played mediocre to not so good teams. Four of them being the NFC East, and they even lost to one of them. So it's really good to see that Cleveland's finally emerging as a good team. They're going to be tested next week. I don't know what's going to happen there, but I'm really happy for Cleveland to get their first win since 1995, just like the Buffalo Bills did this past weekend as well. It's great to see the AFC picture change quite a bit since Tom Brady has left Foxborough, and I don't know how much of that is because Tom Brady left or not, but it's just good to see the AFC picture just change.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that we're in good hands as far as quarterbacks are concerned going forward. I mean, yeah, Baker Mayfield is like 25, 26 years old, and he's still considered a young quarterback. He's the oldest starting quarterback in the AFC remaining. You have Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, and Baker remaining,
All 25 and younger.
all 25 and younger. And I really, really, and I want to talk about Big Ben. I know he had 500 yards passing and 4 touchdowns, but all those came when like the game was already over. He had 4 turnovers in this one. The Steelers couldn't run the ball. You have JuJu Smith-Schuster dancing around like a moron on the field for some reason, and before the game, saying, "Okay, let's talk about the Browns." Is the Browns quote right? I know everyone's heard it, everyone's seen it. As two people, me and you, who have both played football, I know it was only at the high school level, but if we saw people from Fireball, Los Banos, Mendota dancing on the middle of our field, on the horseshoe that we have in back in our hometown. And
We would have scored 28 points in the first quarter as well.
that's what I'm trying to get at. And you see him talking crap on, you know, TV, ABC 30 Action News, right? You see him talking crap saying, "Hey, it's just the Broncos. Broncos are the Broncos. They're no big deal. They're not, saying that they're just a bunch of gray faces. They have a few good players, but you're confident." Look, if somebody from like you do not want to add more fuel to the fire. Like you had already lost what 4 of your last 5 games or something like that if you're the Steelers I think it was 4 of your last 5 or 4 of your last 6 games because they started 11-0. If you're Mike Tomlin and you're, let's be honest, like Mike Tomlin's one of the best coaches of all time, right? You have to put a stop to this, or at least move off of JuJu. I know he's a free agent now, and you have Deontay Johnson, James Washington, Chase Claypool. You have a good receiving core without him. I mean, I'm letting JuJu walk. I take that garbage somewhere else. You don't see Tom Brady doing any of this, right? You don't see any of the well-run organizations doing it. You don't even hear about this out of Cleveland. Like, as much as people want to bag on Baker Mayfield and whatnot, you don't see Baker Mayfield going out before the game and saying, the Jets are the Jets. You know, like, you don't see him going out and just talking crap about teams, right? I don't. What are your thoughts on JuJu? Maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe just because, and I'm not. Look, I'm not trying to actively root against a player either. Um, I know it may seem that way, but it's just like, I don't know. As a football coach and a football analyst and a former football player, it just it's not a good look, and it's not something I would want on my team. So, what say you?
I will say under the Steelers, the given situation that we have at hand with the Steelers, they're known for having, arguably the most disciplined players in the NFL. This is just something that's been part of their franchise for many years. You know, from winning their Super Bowls in the '70s to Mike Tomlin's era back in the 2000s. I mean, all these players were all just focusing on the game at hand, being the best football players they can be, and trying to get to the Super Bowl. That's always been the ultimate goal for the Steelers. And what's scary about the Juju Smith kind of dancing while also losing in NFL games is the fact that this is a Steelers team that has been known for getting receivers in the most random places. They're like the Patriots of wide receivers. They can find their next guy in that fifth round, sixth round.
Yeah.
They've done it for years.
Well, JuJu was a late round pick. I mean, Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool, both late round picks. And JuJu is a free agent. If you have that good of a receiving core, I don't think I'm going to resign you long term, especially after what's gone on this year. And look, I don't want to compare JuJu to Antonio Brown because that's a whole different situation. There's a lot of legal stuff
Completely
going on.
different.
There's a lot of legal stuff going on with Antonio Brown. I mean, I don't want to compare him to him, but it's just a distraction like the Antonio Brown situation was, right? And I don't think, obviously, not to the extent because there's a lot of legal stuff going on that we don't know about. And I don't know. I just, it seems like the Steelers the last few years haven't been the franchise that you described that they used to be. This disciplined, hard nosed, you know, disciplined, organized football team. They haven't been that for a few years. And I hope that whether or not this is Big Ben's last game as a Steeler, we'll find out. I hope that this next era for Steelers football kind of reverts back to what they were. Because I don't know if they're paying attention, but they may be the worst team in their division next season. The Browns, I don't think they're going anywhere. They have a lot of young talent on this roster, and they're all under contract. Lamar Jackson, we know what he can do. He's an MVP, and the Steelers have a great coach in John Harbaugh and an awesome defense. And Joe Burrow is on the rise. He was having a great season and probably would have been the rookie of the year if he had not gotten hurt. I mean, we talk about Justin Herbert and Burrow. We could debate that all day long, whatever. But the Steelers are definitely on a decline, and then next season they may be the worst team in their division if this continues. So
It's definitely unique to see Pittsburgh where they're at, despite the fact that they actually had a good regular season on paper, and despite it's just a surprise that they got dethroned in the AFC North the way they did, despite just I don't know. The Steelers, it's just weird to see where they are.
yeah, and
Yeah, and again, as you
maybe
said,
I'm over.
a chance that they could be last in the AFC North next year.
Maybe I'm glad that you said that because I thought maybe I was going to ask you. Maybe I'm overreacting, but Big Ben's probably the worst quarterback in his division, right? I mean,
It's definitely more realistic that they'll be second or third. Fourth, I could see happening if Cincinnati gets the right guys. And Cincinnati, they're still pretty high up on the draft board, so there is a good chance, which is why I wouldn't say it wouldn't be as big as a surprise if the Steelers just all of a sudden fell down the fourth, because we don't know how much of the house they're going to be cleaning. We don't.
I mean, I think it's very realistic that Cincinnati could go like 8-8 next season because of who their quarterback is, and they have a lot of offensive talent. I mean, the defense isn't great outside of Jesse Bates, but I think it's not unrealistic that the Steelers could end up last in their division next season.